Why did Luigi's Mansion fail to suck me in? Overall, I did enjoy what the game had to offer. It was cool to go back and trek through the game and finish something that I was too terrified to do as a kid. I love that this was one of Nintendo's first attempts to make a spooky game that goes against all the upbeat energy that they are known for. Not only that, but they gave the spotlight to the younger brother Luigi, which for me growing up as a kid was huge because I was so used to all of it being about Mario. So it was really cool to see the switch over to Luigi. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also one of the first times where we see an action-adventure Mario franchise game, I say that 3 times fast, where platforming is not the main focus. Again, another big shift from what we normally get from the Mario franchise, all packed into one game. So despite all those appealing twists, why didn't it vacuum me in? Now, I have no way to confirm this, but I feel like Luigi's Mansion was a fan-based experiment to see how the fans will react to Luigi leading a game instead of Mario, just in case something happened for like whatever legal reason, medical reason, that Mario could not be in the picture. Meaning that because it's an experiment, they didn't want to put in too many resources because why put all this money into something that they don't know how the fan base is going to react to? You know, you're trying a new formula, you're changing the Krabby Patty, so it's like they had to just test the waters and follow me and hear me out as I explain why this affects the rest of the game. So the first thing I noticed was that Luigi's Mansion felt short. I beat it within 2 streams, and for me, I typically stream about 5 hours, so that gives you about a total of 10 hours or so that I beat the game. I got all the boos, but I didn't pursue whatever the other 100% things were. I think it was like the Speedy Mouse and like the Speedy Ghost, and there's a handful of them, or maybe some diamonds or something else, I don't remember. But on that note, I also didn't 100% Sunshine or Galaxy, but both of those games took me about 4 to 5 streams to beat. So there was definitely some noticeable difference in gameplay or content between the two. So let's talk about the gameplay loop. And for those of you who don't know, just think about it like this. The gameplay loop is the things that you do as you play the game before you restart that process and do it all over again. Subjectively, the more things that are in that loop, the better it is. Or if there's multiple loops, there's more variety and you don't get burnt out on the game quite as fast. So although there was a good variety of ghosts between special resident ghosts and like the regular, non-character background ones, it felt like the loop was very short or very lackluster because it broke down to about 2.5 steps. Step 1, figure out how to stun them with your flashlight. And then step 2, catch them. Just hold down the R button and vacuum them up. And that's basically the loop. And there is like a half step where some of them require you to use fire or something to maybe like melt ice around them or wake them up out of a bed with water or something like that. But very, very small, unnoticeable real change to the loop. Don't get me wrong, Sunshine and Galaxy weren't rocket science, but there were 2 loops that were happening and even cross over into each other. The first being defeating enemies, which Luigi's Mansion does have, and the second being platforming, and sometimes a third loop where you mix the platforming and defeating enemies. Now, Luigi doesn't have that platforming, and I don't necessarily want it, but there is a void that isn't being filled because there's no platforming. So now all you're doing is defeating enemies over and over again, and you're seeing the same thing and you burn out. And I think that's one of my critical issues with the game, that is just outside of catching the enemies, there's really nothing else happening, and it gets repetitive fairly quickly. Now on the plus side, because the game is shorter, which is kind of a negative, it ended up making the game a little more okay because it was shorter and you didn't experience the burnout for as long. Money has some serious missed potential. It was pretty much seen throughout the entire game as you collect gold, rubies, sapphires, etc. And you could only use it at the very end of the game to get your ranking, which me, I don't care, and I feel like most people probably didn't care either. I think they should have taken the Paper Mario route and had an item shop where you could buy things to heal, maybe increase your vacuum power, and even some cool special stuff like maybe make more ghosts spawn in a room or something like that. There's a lot of creativity there. I just kind of felt like it was kind of frustrating to get all this money and it wasn't worth anything. It just kind of felt pointless to me. Lastly, and this is probably the second critical thing that didn't pull me into the game, was that the game felt small. Unlike Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, which I just played, this game felt really small and like lacking in content. The other Mario games are pretty big on sending you back to the same place for you to explore and do different things each mission. But we really didn't get that with Luigi's Mansion. We went from room to room doing the stun and vacuum gameplay over and over again. Now, before you say it has to take place in the mansion, I want you to remember that the mansion is made up by the boos and it isn't real. And I think it was a massive missed opportunity to kind of have these weird jump into painting moments like I just mentioned with Mario 64, or even just opening up a door and going into a different dimension. As mentioned with the boss fights, you kind of disappear from the mansion when you're fighting the graveyard boss, or like the baby, I think Chansey was his name, or like the boo on the rooftop or whatever. I think that actually might have been actually on top of the mansion. But anyway, it just, there was some supernatural experiences that could have happened. Even stuff like having all the furniture rise in the room and come crashing down to the floor. Small unique stuff like that could have really spiced up the game. I think that maybe it was just one of those things where like they just wanted to experiment. Again, I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel like it was necessary, but there were just missed opportunities for them to follow that same format they do for the Mario games to do for the Luigi one. So I think for its time, I think it's a fantastic game, or even if you're playing it for the first time and you don't know anything about it, I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. But anything past that, I think is going to kind of reveal its age to you. And if you made it this far, hit that like button for your boy. I'd love to hear your comments on the game itself. What do you think about my review? Hit that follow button if you want to see more content like this. And y'all stay safe out there. Peace.